Tilt that your way a little bit. Ah, there I am. I need to stay in the front. Turn the volume on. All right, gang, it is that time of the week. It's best Tuesday you've had all week. It is time for the True Wealth Radio Show. Dave Littlejohn in studio with
Matt Dixon.
All right, stoked to be here. Matt, I kept you on your toes.
Yeah.
And you're going to laugh about this one when they say, what are we talking about? And they say, wait, you don't know?
I don't, but I think it has something to do with that wonderful
hair.
It looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, the ears are lower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, so we're going to talk today about intention, right? Doing things on purpose, right? This is something that, from a true wealth perspective, we cover lots of different stuff. We talk about the markets. We talk about sometimes politics and what affects them. But today, I want to focus a little bit on intention, the idea of doing things on purpose, right? The reason for this, and what I want to draw a connection for our listeners, the connection between doing things with a plan
instead of just kind of flying by
the seat of your pants. There's an old expression that says, if you don't know where you're going, you'll get there. Right? But the issue is, for a lot of folks, and I think this happens in the financial industry a lot. See if this story sounds familiar. Go in, if you've ever interviewed financial professionals, and you start to get sort of a dog and pony show about why the company's smart, all the resources that are available, and why you should work with that company. It really is a sales pitch. And then once you've sort of been wowed by what this is all about, then you may be even told, well, you need to have a plan, right? Mm-hmm. And what the plan is the reason for you to buy the thing.
So it's almost like,
well, it's not just that. It's kind of like the old expression, here's another one, right? If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Mm-hmm. Right? And so if you, for example, now I'm not picking on somebody, I'm using this to illustrate how this could occur, right? If somebody sells life insurance, then what they're going to tell you is the reasons you need life insurance. Mm-hmm. Okay? And if somebody has a specific, we can pick lots of investment companies out there. There's tons of mutual funds out there. They all have names you recognize. These are not recommendations, but let's think about names like maybe Vanguard or Fidelity or Janus or fill in the blanks for something you've heard of, right? Mm-hmm. Berkshire Hathaway, not really. I mean, it's a mutual fund, it's a holding company too. There's interesting things for that one. The point is not whether or not these are good, bad, or otherwise. The point is that what has been an industry practice for ages, I mean, I'm going to go with decades, has been the story. Why this particular mutual fund is the one for you? Because here's the philosophy for how to invest. Here is a story behind it. And you find yourself saying, I agree with that story. I should probably buy it. Mm-hmm. It is a sales method of getting you to a common
to align with it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. Get to an agreement point, start to say yes to it. Before you know it, you find yourself down the path and saying, well, I guess we'll do this. Mm-hmm. The question is, do you need or do you have it? Yeah. And the answer is maybe, right? And maybe you do, right? But that's not the reason that we're asking the question. That's not the intentionality part. The answer probably is, yeah, you very well may. But why do you? And if the answer is because it sounds really good, then I would suggest that's not intentional. That's buying to a sales process. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I want to talk about for you guys listening out there is how do you make decisions with your finances on purpose? Incidentally, those of you listening closely, I'm not going to call this marriage advice, but it could be marriage advice. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the most common reasons that marriages fail because financial behaviors misalign. Right? They like people just don't agree with how to spend money, and that creates tons of friction. Because it turns out they say money can't buy happiness, but if you're broke, it's really hard to be happy no matter what.
Okay,
Right?
this lead in killing me. I got to know one. So you talked about these different things that we can do. Act
So one example, especially in America, of being on not even a budget, spending priorities. Okay, spending priorities. Like for some people, it's very important that they have a certain amount in a savings account, but they're just not. Okay, for somebody else, that's not important. It's really important that they are getting to do travel. If they're not scratching that itch, they're going to feel restless and unhappy. Right? Somewhere in the middle is a way to meet to achieve both of them. They involve confidence, but how do you get there? On purpose, right? Because it's unlikely that you'll get there. Or, yeah, the reality is that few people in this country, few people on this planet have such abundant financial resources they can afford to be financially negligent and still afford. Right? There are probably some people out there, but a lot more than you think, right? By the way, witness the lottery winner that broke. Even high dollar lottery go broke.
yeah,
Off
quickly. Like,
quickly.
He just won $123 million 5 years later.
Yeah. How did you do that? That was so much money. The answer is lack of intention or intentionally being idiot.
We call it lottery.
But you call it lots, sure, but the lottery sentence that it's the idea that you're not being accountable to what you're doing. There's no reason. So this is the whole idea. I want to encourage folks take a step back before you decide that you want to invest here. Figure out what is the mission. Okay. Now this is really nerdy stuff.
I feel there's the opposite side of this coin too, though, where some people don't establish purpose. They'll take so much, and they don't have.
Well,
You know,
that's totally accurate,
kind
and
of like the opposite of what we're talking
we're going to touch on this a little bit today too. We're going to touch on this. We're not immediately, but I'm going to come back to this point of natural time horizon.
Mm-hmm.
And so the natural time horizon for some investors looks different, and their perspective of time and how long their investments are going to be working for them alters their behavior naturally. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, but not yet. Right? I want to bring that up in a future segment, but I want to first kind of finish this thought of getting intentional. You know, how do you develop a picture of what you want? Right? We had a little bit of this conversation yesterday.
Yeah, and I was actually pondering it more,
Mhm.
yesterday evening, even on one of the breaks. You asked the question, hey, where do you want to be in 5 years? And I think my answers were actually kind of weak because I don't know that I had taken time to sit and fully develop it, right? Like you think about it all the time, but there's a difference between thinking about it and actually putting something on paper and putting something to the plan.
Right. So you may dream about it all the
Sure.
time.
Yeah.
But are you thinking about it? Now that sounds semantic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the expression is dreams are just goals without deadlines.
Right.
Okay. But they're also goals without a mechanism to make them happen.
I used to actually do that. I would write down all of the things that I wanted to accomplish, whether it was financial or whether it was. And I would often go back and I would look at that list, and it would be a refresher because it would be like, "What am I accomplishing?" But then there would be something like, what, that was entirely thing.
Right. That, by the way, is a really important point too. you can have goals, and for some reason, people think if you write a goal down, it's like making a commitment to unbreakable. I in light, why is it the opposite?
Because I mean, goals change, right? So,
sure.
Like it's not concrete. It's an idea. I mean, there's a difference between committing to something, and having a feeling that's good.
All right, so we're probably saying the same thing, which when you write it down, it's committing to intention. The good news is you can change your mind. Something may not be important anymore. Something else bumps it off the list and it becomes a new priority set. A friend of mine talked about how he'd always wanted to sort of like live on a sailboat for like 6 months. But his wife, that's a horrible idea for her. She's not interested in that at all. And so he said, well, I love my wife. I want it to work out. I need to kind of adapt my vision and priority set. There are other things that would be great too. So if it's not going to be that, I don't have to force her to be miserable to live on a boat. Right. Let's find something that we both like. Now, there's an example of intentionally recognizing what should or shouldn't be on the list, and then collaborating to, come to something together, right? And yeah, there's some compromise. It's not bad compromise, right? And if you're out there saying like, no, man, this guy's giving up his dream, and I think it's just alignment because design by committee takes some work. I mean, if you're just going to say, "Well, do it my way," everybody else can get in line. All right, well then you could do that. You better hope that everybody that's getting in line really likes your way, or you might get thrown. Okay, so that's step one. Matt, you brought up such a good point though about how you used to write stuff down and you didn't for a while. How we're setting the goals, how you're answering them. I want to talk about. We're going to use the example of like far-sighted business. Okay, what is your natural financial vision? Your natural focal point financially. We're going to unpack that and what that means for you as an investor, the things that could be working for you, but not for you. Right up. Stick around. We'll be right back. This is Dave Littlejohn
and Matt Dixon,
and you got True Wealth on News Radio 93.9 FM and 1240 KQEN. All right. I want to see the comments. They're rolling through. Comments. Just said, all right, you're just here for the fake words. All right, fake words it is. We got to pull them up. Those are toward the end. And you guys don't know if I can log in. Yeah, actually, text Heather and see if she'll send us a handful of them. Evan had some wins. Okay. Right, so we got to grab it. Like, come on, Bidenomics. Like, no, I think so. Did you hear about the student loan? $10,000. Yeah. But it backfired because the people that want their loans given aren't happy. So what it goes through and you spend billions to do it, and no one's not. It's still a disincentive for all of them. It's just for us that the take on this is, hey, a bunch of people didn't get to go to. They made a different financial decision. They understood that their opportunity missed, and these other people went out there and then took debt out. We're saying we're going to incentivize the bad decisions, and the people who make bad decisions or made good decisions financially, we're going to penalize them. And if you say they're not getting a penalty because it's not costing them. Yes, it is. It's taxpayers' penalty, and it's a selective benefit. It shows bad behavior and support it. Yeah, it's just, and it goes back to my theory, and this really sets me off of. I cannot figure out the life of me. There's a group in leadership positions and legislative positions that says we only enforce the rules on people that have something to take. If you have nothing to take, then we won't enforce the rules on you. It's anarchy. Like you literally are building anarchy into the system, saying if you behave, it's bad. Right? I mean, if you do the things that we want for our social fabric, we don't like that. Do the bad stuff. What? Yeah. All right, well, rant's over. We're back. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Welcome back to the True Wealth Show. Dave Littlejohn in studio with
Matt Hickman.
Okay. Grab the podcast if you want to get caught up. Or we're currently live streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. So hey, gang, good to see you on the live stream. It'll also be available. We will, republish the live streams. You can watch this if you want to see it. But podcast it, iTunes or wherever you go to grab your favorite podcast. So Matt, you talked in the first segment about how doing things with intention is really important.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things we talked about in that was how people start to approach their finances. Great one to talk about in this segment. Where your natural financial. Mm-hmm. You mentioned goals, right? I asked you about 5-year goals. That well, what do you think, right? Mm-hmm. So, what are some of the things that you don't have to share the goals with our listeners, but as you're processing, what are some of the things that come through your mind? Or well, how am I going to think about 5 years?
Well, I like to first start with in my mind, kind of what do I think is really right? What do I feel like I need to accomplish? And then I like to try and set the bar just a little bit. Okay, well, what's lofty, but not so lofty? Hey, I want to make $200 million in the next 30 days. That might be like a good fit, right?
Right.
But hey, I want to be here doing this moment. Is that achievable? And then try and set almost 2 goals. One that's a little lofty and then very.
Okay, and that falls in line with a lot of the different acronyms like SMART or SMAC or whatever else. Mm-hmm. So they need to be specific and measurable. It needs to be either actionable or achievable, right? That's the whole, it has to be grounded. It can be a stretch, but it needs to be realistic. And then the R is SMART goals, compatible, and there's one of them, so it needs to be aligned. And the last one is time out. Yeah. Right. So those are all things. So when you're setting goals, that they have to be things that can they align with your values, your purpose, your mission, fit within a time, and they are realistic to the people. And the realistic is that's the R in there, right? Smart, mm-hmm. Realistic. Realistic just means you're getting stretched goal, right? But don't say I've got 2 weeks and I'm overweight and I need to lose 100 pounds in 2 weeks.
Right.
That's probably not mechanically possible. Mm-hmm. Not without a surgical intervention, really extreme stuff. And well, even then, it might kill you. That's not necessarily realistic. Yeah. So maybe that's not. Maybe it's I want to lose weight over 2 years. I want to commit to losing pounds a week. You lose 100 pounds a year.
Sometimes it gets something.
It is. So, and those are longer goals, right? Now you're setting a vision out there for a way. Mm-hmm. So that's where you set your vision naturally. That is the thing that's really lots and lots of studies. The more naturally long-term your thinking process, mm-hmm. the higher the probability. Right? People that tend to have limited to no resources tend to look at visions on minute by minute or hourly basis. Certain days are long time frames. Right? I have money in my pocket. I need to do something right now.
You know what kind of throws me for a loop? I might be bad, but I talked to a friend, and what I've noticed is some really struggle with this technique. Right? Like I talked to someone, and they here's my goal. And they laid it all out. And I want to have a huge financial plan, and I've been doing all this work, balancing this, balancing that, but what are we really trying to do? And it's like, well, I'm not going to return. And my comment back to them is, well, I have to start doing millions of dollars. And it was like, well, that might actually be the first step. Like, can you do $50 a month into this? And like, well, I haven't really thought about it like that. And it was, hey, sometimes in order to make a goal actually a reality, you have to take an action step. And that's the piece of it. They plan and they plan and they plan and they plan. But you sometimes got to just like walk.
Right. I mean, how do you know so that is so often the case that but to the original point, I mean, you're right. That was a person that had a really big vision, and then it was taking the first step. And I will just tell people take the next step. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Reverse engineering is the idea, right? The long-term visionary has this end goal in mind, and then they're working backwards to what steps does it take to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what intentional planning is all about. Is what things must I do to get to the vision? But if you don't have a vision for
Right.
where you're
Then
going,
you're just walking in circles.
well, or you're literally blind. But this is the point, right? Statistically, you're much more likely to be broke because if you don't look out a little way, you're likely to just squander free. So that's what we see often.
Yep.
And people have different natural time. This is the part that slaves personally. I'm somebody that has an obnoxiously long time horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Like 10 to 20 years is normal. I'm looking out there going, well, yeah, sometime in the next 10 or 20 years we'll print this. And meanwhile, and to my wife's credit, and she has plenty of vision. So what she does ground me like, hey, we're setting the table for dinner. Like, oh yeah, I should probably do that thing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is a do right now. And I'm being a little extreme. Certainly stuff like that. But my natural financial basis is fall. And I'm deferred driving. I don't have to have it now. It can come later. That's a blessing and a curse, right? Because you can miss experiences if you're willing to defer them to get out of the window of opportunity that experience doesn't happen.
Right.
So that's the flip side.
That's a fine balance.
It is. And that just means you need to be really aware of your circumstances. Situational awareness is so important just having a balanced life. But if you don't ever look over the horizon, right? You know, you're staring at your feet, you can walk right into traffic.
Yeah.
And so there is where my question to all of you listeners, where is your actual financial focus? Is it very, very short term? Is it longer term? How long? Because what is investing for the long term? Retirement is usually 12, 59 and a half year old. Okay, so if you're 30, then that's a long time. And I think by any measure, that's a long time. If you're 58, it's not a long time. But then I ask you to ask you, okay, so how long have you lived that time? Because that's part of your time frame. But that's a different, let's not distract. The natural flow, that's the one you're going to have to train. There's good. The good news is, just like with the eyeball, you may have a natural focus. You might be really nearsighted, right? Hey, I can read everything, but I look up and it's all blurry out there. So what do?
Well, financial advisor who can put the glasses on and like to see long term.
Yeah. I mean, you put on glasses, right?
Yeah.
You correct the vision, and that's part of what you can do with a good plan, right? Good plan is like a pair of glasses to clarify the vision. Maybe it's just thinking short so far out, but maybe it's just thinking start carrying forward that are out there, and you can adapt to it. Okay? So I think that everybody should plan at this. Hey, I need this. I need to be situational where I'm headed on. I need to be able to see right in front of me. That's the gate. Okay. I need to see the bumper in the front, or at least know where the front vehicle is, because I don't want to be smashing into it. But I also need to know what the destination.
What worries me is the people that work so hard, right? Like I've seen we work so hard, but we never take any type of risk. But what other and you're an amazing work. That's what that. But that's what we're talking about. No kind of vision. We could work with people. You can get that.
Right? And for some people, the work is sport. Right? And I go to work because this is how I measure. I think there's danger in that long term, right? Because you can either burn out or your body wears out and you're not capable of doing the work. It's very depressing.
Yeah.
When you have to start transitioning. Yeah. And so but we're really getting all outside of pure finance into the behavioral finance and the psychology of finance. Right? Because let's be honest, all of us have financial back, right? Everybody's got financial back. Just is it advantageous? Right? Some people, if I'm a natural saver, that's baggage. It's advantageous to building up a storehouse, but it's not necessarily advantageous to recognition of experiences in the moment. Right? So that's an interesting dichotomy. First, let's go to a concert. Concert, maybe there'll be another concert later. Like, what are you doing? That's your shot. Concerts are an interesting thing. Like, well, you gotta like the artist or not. That's not what it's about. That's kind of like fishing for you or something.
There any musical artists where you stop everything?
Stop everything?
Yeah, you're just like, no, I'm skipping one day. I got you.
No. And not because I don't think it's great, but I'm real high on honor. I had, especially if it was client engagement, I'm like, well, look, I made a commitment. So that's kind of a different like dude down there.
It's just hardwired in the
Yeah, it really is. It's
yeah.
where I'm like, I just want to call it a 6. So like, okay,
but you also really enjoy that. That's like your favorite thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I know. It's the thing. I'm so fueled by it. I'm like the purest extrovert.
You would have also been a great doctor. Like, how many patients can I see today? Bring them all in. I'm gonna talk to everyone. Make sure they're okay.
Except I don't know that I can get through that many. Like, I don't think you're still the story of your people. Yeah, it's a fun one. Yeah, COVID was rough because experts were like, we're not okay. Still does.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with Zoom because we've all been trained for it, but I much prefer to talk. We do. All right. So look, we're a little long here. We talked about the reason for planning. I want to connect the plan to the investment side of things. And as promised previously, we're going to start bringing up a few of our favorites. Several people have provided fantastic financial terms. And we're going to play the game of, we're working this out. We're still playing with it. But some people ask, define this term and play that one. Yeah. And we're also going to maybe see about which definition is real. Right, so we'll take a term and we'll give you 3 different definitions, and the question is which one is true.
Okay.
All right. Figure out. We'll be right back. Let's stay a little John.
Yeah, magic.
And you got True Wealth on News Radio 93.9 FM, 1240.
So,
the list. Yeah, we're not real well prepped for. God, people are watching too. Hey, gang. I feel like we made end up. We have to give them. Yeah, we'll try it out.
I got 2.
Only 2. Yeah, they're getting more than a million. Well, no, they're on the Facebook page. So oh yeah, there's like a bunch of off of the work. Oh my, yeah, it's on my phone. My phone's the one doing the screen. That was me. Good luck. Oh yeah. I'm up here playing. Is this diving? Awesome. That's the best. I wonder if I can log. I can't even log in. Can't log in. Facebook, check the work. So I have to rely on somebody else to do that for me. My 2-factor authentication is currently streaming. No good. Meanwhile, wow, we just did a rally.
Yeah.
Kind of big. Well, I mean, like half of it.
Mm-hmm.
What's our next segment? I guess connecting the plan to the.
Yeah. What you got?
Well, I mean, it's just really simple. Uh, don't lead with what should I buy. Lead with what are you trying to accomplish, and then you can figure out what risk am I take, and what risk must I take for my plan to work.
Yeah.
Align those first, and then choose your sector rather than data.
So you're saying like, am I targeting your income play? Well,
maybe, and I'm also saying, hey, just why don't you know how much risk you need to take before you decide how much you are?
right. I guess we could talk about that. So at some point, if you have enough money to feel like you're leading, you really don't. Because if you're trying to leave money, you can afford to take a little bit of risk. Not risk.
Oh, I ain't talking about this marketing thing. Not. I still don't think the world. Right? Like, as much as people are like, like,
No, enjoy that. Never follow up.
right, like that.
Yeah, follow
Well, hey, welcome back to the True Wealth Radio Show. Dave Littlejohn in studio with
Magic.
and so you got to know. You see it on the live stream back. We'll probably edit out some of it that air, but so Matt's asking me about can we develop a plan for the end of the
yeah.
That's basic, right?
Yeah. We talk about it all the time on the show, like, well, if this happens, then it's really actually just in the world. And I'm like, we already did that, but we never talk about
what do you. Okay, so let's just have an in the weeds moment. What do you do for the end of the world? And first of all, tell me what is the end of the world?
Well, everyone always defaults to zombies.
It seems like that's correct.
I'm envisioning like grocery stores don't have food. There was an earthquake. There's something.
Well, it'd have to be like an earthquake that takes out
all the bridges. Yeah, like all the.
So like there's a global earthquake and every bridge on the planet fails.
Like, what if I? What if all of the roads are like roads are? Let's say we're all
okay.
So and say the currency is something crazy.
Okay.
And so we don't have to, and we don't really have formal currency.
So bad that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, this is the better question. What would it take to get to that match?
Yeah, it would take a lot. Right?
I'm asking. Walk me through what it would take.
I think it would have to be a combination of a lot of things. And I think also more.
So I will help you. Let's start with
a war.
Some kind of. I'm going to say let's start with a massive electromagnetic pulse of some kind that destroys all electronics as we know.
Okay.
EMP just kind of wipes out the vast majority of electronic devices. Your phones are gone, the internet's gone.
I mean, that right there alone is the limit. That's kind of people. Like they've only known the internet.
Now I have no cell phone. Life's not worth going.
Yes, they just collapse. They're dead. Now, you took away the McDonald's and the cell phone.
Okay, but did I take away McDonald's?
No. Did you the food lock?
I don't know that that's the point is that how much infrastructure must fail?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or transportation. Right? So that's clearly regional. I've often said that, and I'm not suggesting this, I mean, I'm saying this on live radio, so keep in mind, I would not, there's no conspiracy idea behind it. I've always said that, Portland, Oregon, is like 4 bridges and a freeway for these guys,
Yeah, that's
right?
yeah.
And so a few bridges are lost and a runway or two is lost. And it's impossible to get food in fast enough to feed everybody.
Yep.
So Portland becomes a really terrible zone to be in. And in a matter of days, it's 10 to 1.
Right, and I think that you that when if or when we get that massive fault,
Cascadia Falls.
right, and they talk about the distance to the Earth. I mean, that was going to have to do with on there, but LA almost, and there's really no good way of
Yeah. And so those are examples, though, that aren't cool, right? If Oregon were to fall in the ocean, it's a horrible thing for all of us to live in Oregon. And it's probably going to ultimately affect weather and other stuff, but that's longer range. But we're talking about roughly 4 million people out of 330 million in the country. And so does life change because of that? Sure. But does everything stop spinning? My suspicion is no, right? And so I often ask, like, how bad does it have to get to have the end of everything as we know it? All utilities stop working, running water stops working, electricity stops working, everything shuts down, everything's toxic, so there's no potable water. There's, what's it take to get to that? And the answer is if we started seeing that cascade where all of those utilities failed, it would get ugly for that real hurt. But how does that happen across the entire globe? And there's probably somebody out there going, well, it would be like this. And I would say, okay, so if you can conjure that together, what's the probability? And if you say, well, it exists, therefore I press. And I go, well, okay, so you'll be the survivor, but at what opportunities that are you giving up by trading your resources that direction over operating to be perhaps significantly more on even more things get out of the house. They can't be correct. Like the stuff strong, strong, and it's government. So that is just reorganized. That was the end of the world scenario. Or you're gone. And if you're gone, it doesn't matter. So I've often said it's like a point really, really hard to calculate at the end of the world occurs. Having reasonable preparation for natural disaster very good world. Yeah, not picking up and probability such that can you do anything about it if it occurred? So we did see yes. Yeah. Yep. Well, so it's not me. Yeah. Right. And I'm also not mocking the press. It's something very, very clear. It's not what I said. I'm not mocking. It's very savage thing to consider. Are you mocking? Well, at what cost and what kind of odds are you having? Right? Because if the premium that you pay for the insurance is more expensive than the benefit of the insurance, you're better off allocating the resource somewhere else. Okay? Because the self is the cost of the insurance is great, you should bear the risk yourself. Right? So it's really an insurance analysis, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. So I realized we went in the weeds there. You asked, that's my answer. Is I think that's sort of actuarial assessment of the probability of the world. And it's pretty hard to get. Uh, so the scarier thought is actually global nuclear war, where an area like Roseburg is likely to survive, but it's torture. Not a primary target, the alien man take things elsewhere for a while. But in a matter of weeks or months, generally poised that here starts to reemerge, and it's pretty catastrophic.
Bring back the fluff.
Yeah, but if we're talking about where do you find the water, and how do you stave off radiation? Well, yeah, here on the True Well Show, where we're talking about
Someone better release some good comments on the YouTube channel.
Oh my goodness. So why does this conversation come up on here? Because it's genuine. Are you back risk and are you back getting that? Maybe right. You're like, that one. That what else? Wrong. You could have had lots more resources gone to Mexico. Yeah. There you go. All right. Segment long. I think we should take a break at this point, and we'll come back.
What are we going to talk about?
Well, we got financial terms to define starters, so we got some fun to have. So home stretch, that, and we will tie it back. Stay around, stay a little time. And that's it. That's cool. He's ready. 12:40. See what you did. Yeah. You set me off the trail. I got to come over and read the comments. Words. No, I don't know that there's new comments. I don't even know if anybody's watching. Somebody's watching, right?
We got to.
Okay, well, they say that they are there, but I don't know. That's me waving to the camera. All right, what words do we have for? There we go. So we'll do no, send them to me. Just try to read it to people. What you try to do, you should give a fake definition. That's the rationalization of inflation. Yeah, it's rationalizing how inflationary policy isn't actually inflation.
Oh, I love this one. Pickle down economics.
Pickle down economics. Yeah, that sounds like it's from the
surprise side economics.
That's great. We could use that one. Surprise side economics. All right, you need to save these because if I hear them first, it's going to wreck the spontaneity of the response.
Yeah, we got a lot. And it's going to make sure it's not
All right, so the last thing, tie it together. Plan, calculating odds, like fun work. Good with that? We're going to do that.
Okay.
Then afterwards, we sync up the radio, the video, and we need to get it online first. Yeah, we need a video. We're committed to do it. Yep. All right, gang, welcome back to the Home Stretch Wealth Radio Show. Dave Littlejohn in studio with Matt. They get caught up by doing what?
Go to our website.
Right? Podcast. Now YouTube. You subscribe to the YouTube channel and want to download it later, listen to it, or watch from the studio. You can see Matt needs a haircut. I have a haircut. Mm-hmm. Not always.
It's true. Even when I get a haircut, they're like, "Yeah, when are you gonna get a haircut?" What's good? What's yesterday?
Matt has this surfer haircut.
True.
He's very. You're like a surfer.
What you'll never know is that I actually have to really my hairline, if I put it too short, so I'm holding that.
Yeah, I have an encroaching hairline, so I have to. Mm-hmm. Like anyone. My eyebrows become unibrow. I'll have no forehead. It's really. Okay. I want to tie together the themes of the show really. The first thing we talked about is that really, I believe that every investor should carry plan that there should be end of the day is surprise, they have a bunch of money, and they never expected it to happen. That's great, but that's a happy accident. I think you should do it. Yep. The other thing is, I think that we talked about your natural financial focus, right? The shorter term your natural tendency is, the more challenging it can be to be financially successful. Because your vision needs to include longer term. So you can correct for that, right? By being aware of that, you may think short term naturally. Well, hey, I start worrying about lunch and then I'll worry about dinner next. I don't need to think about that for lunch. Okay, that's fine. But being aware of this is the first step in developing a effective strategy. Write it down. It's okay for your goals to change, but get started somewhere so you know what you're working toward. And if your priorities change, you can always stop. The last thing is marry this up to your investment in one of a couple of ways. Right? This isn't the only way. We think this is really important. Understand one we talked about, it was not really joking. We talked about the end of the world, but the important thing is what are the probabilities associated with it? What are the odds of it being possible? Right? If your plan requires you to make 35% per year every year, that is an unrealistic plan. I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm saying it's improbable. So you need to know the probabilities of whether or not it's achievable on the path that you're tracking. And finally, grounding in the type of risk that one, you're okay taking, the comfort with risk, and then two, the risks required to achieve the outcome, right? If you're really conservative, but you want a really high rate of return, that's likely incompatible with your long-term goal. Because I want a 15% annualized return, but I'm only willing to risk at 3%. There's a gap there that's not going to work. So you want to be aware of both the risk that's needed for your strategy to be successful and the risk that you're naturally comfortable with. As long as you can get into alignment there, you get an opportunity to succeed. But you get any of those variables too far out of whack, and you're breaking one of the SMART rules, right? Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. So if you break any of those, you're gonna have a lot more of a problem. There's our summary today of investing intention, having that combination of long-term vision but short-term action of life. All right. Now, let's have a little fun with that.
I feel like you were just like on it so that we could get to this step.
I totally want to get to this. We started this last week. We asked people to go onto our Facebook page and send us financial terms, real or imaginary, and ask us to define them on air. Now, it's not well defined how we're going to do this. I want to bring this back regularly, and we're going to play some games. Today, I think we just have some terms that people threw at us, and they're saying, just, what do you think?
And we got a lot of them, so we'll try and make it good for you.
All right. So are you going to define some and me? Are you throwing them at me?
I'm going to quiz you, and if I come up with something better than you, then I'll try and one up you.
Hit me.
Okay.
All right.
How about surprise side economics?
Surprise side economics.
Take the supply out and throw in
surprise side economics. Yeah. I feel like that is every time that the Federal Reserve has to change their policy language, right? Like we thought we had it right, but it wasn't right. So surprise. So that's surprise side economics.
That's pretty good. I kind of see the oil piece in there, like, hey, surprise, we're still not gonna change regulation.
All right.
Yeah. I like this one. Integration.
Integration. Oh, that's brilliant. That's clearly money printing.
Oh yeah,
right?
It is.
That is a great term for money printing.
Can we like point that?
Somebody that needs that's another one of those goes on a t-shirt thing, isn't it? That's clever. Mitigation is so clever. Who gave us that one?
Yeah.
Jim?
Yep.
Oh, Jim.
Daniel.
Daniel. Oh, that's good job, Jim.
Yeah.
Now, Jim's a local Medicare expert. Right? If anybody's in that environment, he's a great reason.
Yeah, we have.
Absolutely. That was crushing. Okay, mitigation.
Yeah. Okay. Inconceivable trust.
The inconceivable trust. Who gave us that one?
That was Evan.
Oh, brilliant. Evan Cruz, my favorite farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so an inconceivable trust.
He also gave us Valentine's Law of Economic.
Okay, well,
shooting arrows.
okay, we got to do two. So
Okay.
the first one,
Inconceivable.
inconceivable trust. Yeah, that's the fictional trust that rich people have, so they don't pay taxes.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like, oh, those wealthy people that don't pay any taxes, they just put it in the trust. So that's an inconceivable trust.
Okay, Evan, that was well played.
I love that one.
My
I'm going
mind
to
was
adopt
just
that
all
one.
over Princess Bride, and I just
Oh, no, it totally is, right?
Yeah.
It's, I mean, you can just see Vincini right now.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, you're not paying any taxes? Inconceivable. Great.
Evan, you're a poet with words. Okay.
As opposed to a poet with numbers,
Yeah.
paint.
Yeah, no paint. He just
Poet with grass seed.
Do we want to get Valentine's Law
Oh,
of Economics?
Valentine's Law of Economics has to be that the less money you have in your wallet, the closer to Valentine's Day it actually is. Like, oh, I am behind the power curve and also without resources. Of course.
Kind of like this is my right foot.
Okay.
So intro,
The entrepreneur.
yeah.
Oh,
Not enough.
so we have intrapreneur in our office, like, but not intropreneur, right? So, because the intrapreneur is the person that works inside of your organization, but treats it like their own and is looking for opportunities to make it better, right? That's the entrepreneurial spirit. How can I be not only a great team player, but make the business better? Okay? And there may be self-serving. I want a better outcome. That's the intrapreneur. The intropreneur.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the person that's involved exclusively with internal marketing for an organization.
Okay.
Right? So their job is exclusively to make those stupid training videos that nobody wants to watch. That's an entrepreneur.
Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, we got about 30 seconds.
Okay. How about squirrel market?
Squirrel.
Squirrel market. Like that's kind of their like
that's funny. Squirrel market. What is that? The big run up in the stock market before bear market collapse.
Yeah, all the squirrels are out there just trying to gather whatever they can.
That sounds like a lemming market, but less organized. I don't know. Squirrel market. It's funny, and then I think of Phineas and Ferb, and they have a silly song about squirrels in your pants. It's funny. Don't go in the wrong spot there. It's funny.
Don't do that.
No, you can totally Google it. It's safe. You'll get the song on YouTube.
Okay.
It's hilarious.
Okay.
So look, all right. Thankfully, the music is saved as we're out of time.
All right.
If you have genuine financial questions, Matt, how do they reach?
541-375-08.
All right. Also, check out info@littlejohnfs.com if you need to email us, or go to the website littlejohnfs. Until next time, this has been David Littlejohn. Listen to True Wealth on News Radio 93.9 FM, 1240. All right, did it, Evan. Those were great. Thanks for the list. You are awesome. And with that, I bid you all farewell. Or do I?